I think it's safe to say that We've Got This Covered is not the most reliable source when it comes to any type of movie news. I think their website is pretty much a lot of clickbait, but they put up an article today about George Lucas. And it says that George Lucas wants to return to Star Wars only if he gets full creative control of Star Wars, or Lucasfilm as a whole, I guess. I don't know if this is necessarily true because it comes from We've Got This Covered, but I do think that George Lucas, deep down inside, is very, very unhappy with the state of Star Wars. Now, even in We've Got This Covered article, they even say that George is unhappy with the sequel trilogy. Newsflash, it's not a surprise. I mean, Bob Iger even said that George Lucas absolutely hated The Force Awakens. And if he hated that movie, you can only imagine how much he hated Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Remember, George Lucas wasn't even at the premiere of the movie. And I'm pretty sure that he probably saw that movie, the final cut, and he had to be highly disappointed in what he saw. I said it before, the last 45 minutes of that movie is just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Now, I don't really know, like I said before, if it's true that he wants to come back, but I would love it if he actually does come back. The problem is, if he gets full creative control, where does that leave Kathleen Kennedy? Kathleen Kennedy is a friend of George, but if he comes back, that's pretty much the end of Kathleen Kennedy. There's no point in her actually being there, outside of a producer role. Because we know that one of the major problems with this sequel trilogy has been the influence of Kathleen Kennedy on the movies and also in pre-production. She gets the wrong director in her eyes, hires them, and then she ends up firing them. I mean, she's had all kind of production problems, even with Obi-Wan Kenobi now. I would love to see George come back. I would. But Bob Iger told George Lucas, because George said it himself, he wanted creative control before he sold to Disney. Bob Iger told him no, he can't do that. So what has really changed from then to now? Do you think Bob Iger would actually let George Lucas have creative control? I don't know. On the surface, you may be saying, yes, he would, because the sequel trilogy has been horrible. Declining box office numbers for each movie in the series is a bad sign. It is. But this is Hollywood we're talking about. They don't think like normal people. And I think that's one of the problems. Because I think that Bob Iger is still scared of prequel backlash. George got a lot of flack for the prequels. And I think that Bob Iger saw that when he was buying the company from George Lucas. That's probably why he told George, no, we're not giving you creative control. But now, even with the sequel trilogy, Hollywood is so different now. If George steps in, that pretty much means that Kathleen Kennedy will be fired in all but name. And do you really think that Bob Iger wants to be the person to fire Kathleen Kennedy? Even if it's George Lucas. George Lucas created this whole entire thing. His name is on the company, Lucasfilm. It is his company. But Bob Iger probably wouldn't allow that to happen. Should he let it happen? Absolutely. George should be able to come back. George should be able to come up with his stories, hire his directors, put the right people in place. And even We've Got This Covered said that he wants Dave Filoni to be his right-hand man. That makes complete sense. I have no doubt about that because George trained Dave Filoni. Another reason why I don't think this is going to happen is because of the sequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy has already been made. You bring in George, full creative control. George will come in and he will retcon the sequel trilogy. Remember, he is not a fan at all of this trilogy. He had his story treatments for 7, 8, and 9, and believe you me, if George comes back with control, he will make episodes 7, 8, and 9. I think he will even announce that he will retcon Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. I truly believe he will do it. The problem is Carrie Fisher has passed away, so he would have to change that up. I'm pretty sure Mark Hamill would come back. Would he be able to get Harrison Ford to come back as Han Solo? That's a big question mark. Because Han Solo, he wants to be, or Harrison Ford, I should say, he wants to be done with Han Solo. And that's why he was killed off in Force Awakens. So I don't know if he can truly make a sequel trilogy again unless he recasts. And I don't know if he actually wants to do that or not. But he could just, make a trilogy centered around Luke. And I think a lot of people will be very, very happy with that. But what do you guys think? Do you think that George Lucas actually really wants to come back and take over Star Wars once again, like he did before? I don't know. But I do think we've got this covered as onto something. Because George Lucas was not at that Rise of Skywalker premiere, which tells me he was highly disappointed with the movie and he didn't want to be around. And I'm pretty sure that Disney didn't want him to be around, because looking at that movie, he would only have bad things to say about it. And I remember the rumor that he was really, really upset that Palpatine was coming back in this movie, because that was never his intention. The rumor is he was supposed to have the son of Mortis as the villain in episode 9, because they advised with George on episode 7, they didn't listen to him. They advised with him on episode 9, they didn't listen to him. So I see where we've got this covered is coming from. George says, if I come back, I want full creative control. I'm not going to do these little side gigs where you just call me and I put in advice because you guys don't listen to me. I want full control if I'm ever to come back once again. And that's what I would do if I was George Lucas. I would put my foot down on Disney and tell them it's my way or the highway. You guys have made a mess. I'm going to come in here and clean it up. And maybe he can, maybe he can. I really don't know. But Star Wars is his baby. Star Wars has been around as long as I've been around, 42 years, going into 43. And this is his kids. This is all he's ever known. I mean, George has been so dedicated to this franchise that his first wife divorced him because he was overworking himself. He was married to Star Wars and they got divorced. But that's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? George Lucas coming back to Star Wars. Do you actually believe these rumors if it's true? I hope it is. I don't know if I believe it or not because of the source. That's the thing. So guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comments. If you're new here to the channel, please hit subscribe to catch future videos from me, and we will catch you on the next video. John Matrixx out.